you can't quit the money. You want to quit the job, but you can't quit the money. Even if it's not a lot of money, if it's stable money, if it stabilizes you in some way, it can hook you in and you can become addicted, dependent, reliant on the security that the money provides, even if it's something that you hate doing, something that kills you inside, something that makes you feel terrible, but yet you'll do it. You'll do it because, oh, good morning. Look what we have here. Master Cafe, the best of the best canned coffee in Israel. This was my favorite drink when I used to live in Israel. I used to live in Tel Aviv. And every morning I would start the day with a Master Cafe on the way to my job where I worked in Holon. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about Master Cafe, or as they would say here, Master Cafe. Actually, that's not how they would say it. That was a really bad impression, but yeah. So, what on earth did you just draw? What is this?
It's a poopy monster.
That is disgusting. So, what does it do?
It puts poopy on Daddy's face.
Oh my God! Okay, let me break down what we got here. This, in Israel, is how you eat bagels, kind of. This is what's known as bagel toast. You put it on this thing, you wrap it in parchment paper, then you put it on this thing. Well, that's the house rules. Normally, you can just put it straight on the grilling plate. But this is a big old Israeli bagel that comes from the shuk. We're going to go there eventually. And what you do is you put this down, and this is what's known as, I think this is yellow cheese. So we put this stuff. This isn't cream cheese, and it's not sour cream. It's like this weird, it's this 5% fat, it's this weird in-between situation. You put some cucumber, some tomato, you take your cheese like this, but people, they put tuna, or they put corn, mushrooms, all sorts of junk on here, you know, when you're making your bagel toast. And basically what it is, it's just a pressed toast. You flip that on top of that, and you put it on here, and bada boom, you got a sandwich. And so we're just gonna press down, kind of. You can't really go too crazy with it because it's a big boy. So you just let that toast.
Did I do that?
It's close to midnight. Something All right, look at this. We got it all set up. Going for the evening walk. We got the sunset behind us. We're walking away from the sunset. I thought my daughter opened the door. She's 2 years old, but boy, oh boy, she is a slippery one. She can get herself in and out of any situation you can imagine. By the way, when I realized this mic is really hot, what I mean by hot, sensitive. Sensitive was what I really mean. So today is an anniversary of something that happened to me a year ago. I don't know if it so much as happened to me as maybe I let it happen a little bit, if I'm really being honest. If I'm really holding myself accountable in the situation, I was let go from my long-term salaried desk job, and it brought with it a lot of feelings. A lot of dogs in this neighborhood. Another interesting observation you will notice about the Moshav: people let their dogs, it's like a dog paradise here. You will see random dogs with collars and tags on, just roaming around the neighborhood, making their rounds, sniffing sniffs, and peeing where they feel like, and nobody curbs their dog, so there's dog shit everywhere. It's pretty hilarious, and so that's why I say it's really, really good for dogs. Dogs love living in the Moshav, and they have no leashes. They may have masters. There's another one. They may not be on leashes, but they do have masters, and yeah, it's just really good for dogs. So anyway, as I was saying, I was talking about my salaried desk job. You know, I often hear, I have a feeling this is turning into a rant, but I just can't help it. It's the anniversary, and it's definitely been rattling in the back of my mind, considering that I have not found a replacement job. I've applied to, I think, ballpark around 250 jobs, something like that. An insane, disgusting number of jobs, some of which I really wanted, some of which I didn't really want, and some of which I downright 100% despised and did not want, but realized that the money was good or that it looked good on a resume and wanted to do my diligence by applying for said job. And so, where was I going with this? Basically, I was let go from my job, salary job. Oh yes, now I remember what I was trying to say. Sorry, I hit a pothole when I went on a tangent. That will happen from time to time. Basically, I've heard this said about stripping, and I think it applies as well to being a server, a waiter, a server in the food and beverage hospitality industry, but it also applies to salaries. And basically, it's that you can't quit the money. You want to quit the job, but you can't quit the money. Even if it's not a lot of money, if it's stable money, if it stabilizes you in some way, it can hook you in and you can become addicted, dependent, reliant on the security that the money provides, even if it's something that you hate doing, something that kills you inside, something that makes you feel terrible, but yet you'll do it. You'll do it because you have responsibilities, you have a family, you have a mortgage, you might have children, you might have credit card debt, you might have school loans. There's 100 million ways. Let's pivot because we want the sunset behind us, even though it's dissipating very quickly. It doesn't matter for one reason. Maybe you're an artist trying to make a film or trying to record your album and you need money to do it in a professional studio. Or maybe you just think it looks really good on a resume, and so you figure, what's a couple of years of my life? What is a couple of years of my life if I can just sit behind the desk, I'll do my time, and that'll be it. And then you know, 1 year turns into 2 years, 2 years turns into 4 years. Who knows? For me, it was 3 years. It was 3 years in this very, very predictable, very, very boring, banal, soul-sucking job. And you know, the problem with situations like these, with any situation really, with any job, period, really, is that job becomes its own micro-universe in your life, where once you're in that micro-universe, things that are not really a big deal seem like the biggest deal ever. And like these huge, huge things, you know, bosses, coworkers, you know, work obstacles, you know, the ins and outs of the daily routine. And they can crush you. And when I say you, I really should be talking about me, because that's what kind of happened to me. I worked in restaurants for years, you know, almost 10 years in restaurants, and got really burnt out from working for tips, and, you know, had wife and kids and decided that I wanted my weekends. And therein lies the problem, because, you know, with a stable desk job like that, where you're working for that paycheck, you don't just get addicted to the money, you also get addicted to weekends. That's right, folks. Weekends become very, very addictive. What do I mean by that? I mean that no matter what happens at your job, but by 5 o'clock, depending on your schedule, but by 5 o'clock on Friday, you are out of there. You have worked for your weekend, and for the next 48-ish hours, you are not to be bothered or disturbed, depending, again, job to job. This is a very subjective situation. So I'm speaking very generally, but you are essentially free of all the bullshit where you can be whoever it is that you really are if your job is not you, and my job was not me. So I was free to be me, in the same way that once 5 o'clock during the weekday approached, I was free to be me. And it was the type of job where, what did I do? I was a communications associate. I worked behind a desk. I did Photoshop. I did some video stuff, a lot of email communications stuff, a lot of constant contact stuff, and a lot of petty, toxic, insignificant, unimportant, bureaucratic bullshit. You know what I mean? God, when I think about the things that I used to dwell on or worry about, I'm going to save that, though, I think there's going to be a part 2 to this. And the reason why there's going to be a part 2, I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But basically, what I'm trying to say is you get very addicted to the weekends, man. It's wherever I go next and, start looking into other jobs, you're like, oh, well, they require, maybe I have to come in on Saturdays. Maybe I have to come in on Sundays. But I'm like, wait a minute, no. Saturday and Sunday's a weekend. Oh, my God. Look at that full moon. Can you see that? Do you see that full moon? We'll get that when we come back. I don't know if you can see it with this side of the camera. But, man, you become addicted to that stuff. Oh, my Lord. And, suddenly it becomes a prerequisite for why you, and when I say you, I mean why I can't leave my job. Because I want to spend time with my kids on the weekends. I want to be free on my weekend. And every 2 weeks, no matter what happens, no matter how much work is done or is not done, and that could be a huge bummer too, because you can overwork yourself and you're still going to receive the same money, or maybe the workload is really light this week for whatever the situation is, and you're still coming in, trading your life force, your 9 to 5 life force from 9 to 5, 8 hours every day for this paycheck that's going to come in no matter what. And what's funny is, at least in the last year of my time at this job, I wasn't even really getting, oh, there's the ties. See them? Remember how I told you about how the ties work on the farms? Those were the ties. That was awesome. So glad that reference, go see episode 2, which I don't think has premiered yet. I'm really very, very, very proactive, prolific, I should say. But yeah, maybe your work day is super, super light, and you end up, you're still getting the same paycheck. You're going to get the same pay no matter what. And it's safe. Safety is good. Safety is good, especially when you have other people that rely on you and you have stuff that you can lose. And now I remember what I was saying. That paycheck, the chunk of the pay, I wasn't even seeing it because it was going straight to my mortgage, because we bought a house. So it's just like you start to look at that sunset. You start to just sort of go, what the fuck? What am I doing here? And I think that's where I'm going to leave things. I'm going to explain more in part 2. And the reason why I want to explain more in part 2, why is there a part 2, Jeff? Why am I pulling this out and yet at the same time not capping it? Let's see if we can get that moon. You can't even tell that's a moon. That's not a street lamp. That is the moon. Just crack a toenail. So why is there a part 2? Here's the reason why there's a part 2. Because a year ago today, I came back from vacation. I had 7 days left in the fiscal year. You have to use your vacation days. You use them or you lose them. And I had 7 days left on my my docket, whatever you want to call it. And so I said, I'm going to use these 7 vacation days. And that's exactly what I did. Okay, I'm turning around now. See, this light looks no different than the full moon over there somewhere. Look, same thing. That's the moon. That's the moon. And that's a street lamp. You really can't tell. That's a little frustrating, right? So big and beautiful and bright. Man, that moon is so bright I could turn into a werewolf right now. I could put on The Shift by Sam Hain and transform into a werewolf. Look, I'm making all the cats and dogs go crazy for my loud, annoying voice. So anyway, a year ago today, I come back from vacation. I used up my last 7 days as my boss, my supervising boss had asked me to, who also happens to be the HR person, which makes this whole situation that much more hilarious. Oh, here come the ties again. So awesome. I used up my time like the sucker that I am. How you doing? Good to see ya. I used up my time like a sucker. And when I came back, 9 a.m., June 24th, 2020, mid-pandemic, we're all remote working from home anyway, so this was done by Zoom. This was not, I didn't come in, thank God it wasn't in the office. It might have gotten really ugly had I had to go into the office. And I was unceremoniously fired with a week's pay. No severance, no vacation days, week's pay, that was it. And I have been unemployed ever since. Like I said, that's not to say that I have not been looking for jobs. I most certainly have. And I've done a gig here and a gig there that has, helped me to get by. And more than anything, and this is where I'm going to leave us until next week, because there's a wrinkle here. There is something that thickens the plot, I should say. Over the last year, I have really gotten into YouTube. Again, I started just as I was really, really, truly feeling the painful death throes of this job I was in. I'll explain more about that next week. And I just started, a quest to get my account remonetized. It used to be monetized, and then I lost it when Logan Paul did that stupid thing that he did, and they clamped down on AdSense. They tightened restrictions for content creators, which was really frustrating, but not really frustrating because I wasn't making that much money anyway. And over the year, I have slowly built a tiny little audience that I'm continuously trying to grow. As of this recording, there are 3,011 subscribers, and when I started, I think I had 1,400. So it's very, very slow. But in leaps and bounds, we're getting there. The goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers. It's the first big channel goal, and we are 30% there. So I'm just going to keep grinding, going to keep doing this, going to keep making videos. And now to leave you with the final wrinkle that I mentioned all throughout this video. So what I did not tell you is that I recorded myself getting fired, let go from my job. I say fired because I was fired. It was not due to COVID downsizing. Thank God it happened during COVID downsizing. I will tell people it is COVID downsizing, but at the end of the day, it was an excuse to fire me, And I guess they were kind of right too. In certain ways, they were well within their means to do what they did. I was not a good fit there, as I've told you. But I recorded it. I recorded it because I don't know why. I just felt like I was going to tell them off, and I felt like I wanted to record this moment and then reflect where I would be a year later. And now it's a year later, and I've been thinking about this the last 6 months. Will I, won't I look at the recording? And I'm definitely going to look at the recording. Definitely decided I am going to listen to the recording. There's no video. And I'm going to listen. I'm going to see, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to feel like. I'm a little nervous to listen to it. I don't know if it's going to hurt my self-esteem or what. It definitely hurt my self-esteem a year ago. I was very, very discouraged, disillusioned. I felt rejected, even though it was a place I didn't want to be, because at the end of the day, it was kind of a Zen blessing. And I know that's really, really terrible to say, but as I told you at the beginning of this video how I felt about all this stuff, So, look, there's the last remnants of that sunset. Man, you got to savor those like a fine root beer. Like a Virgil's root beer or a Dad's root beer. Those are the best. That's the playground. They got a canopy on the playground because the sun is so bright here. And, so I'm going to look at that video. I was going to do it before I spoke to you, and I just realized that the sun was setting, and I wanted to get the sun in the video, so the sunset in the video. So for tomorrow's video, I'll report back to you. I'm not going to actually listen to the tape live on air. However, I did tell myself additionally, if I find stable employment, or when I find stable employment, and when I do it without needing the reference from this place, because I would never want to get a letter of recommendation from anybody at that place anyway. It doesn't really help me. Then, and only then, I will play the recording, and I will do it in a way that leaves the people in question anonymous, because I don't need to do that. But I figure, oh man, what great content for my channel. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm definitely going to listen to it tomorrow, and I will report back here my feelings, what went down in the firing, and I don't know, and just see what's what, see how I feel. I mean, I really like to record things like that because, you know, it's so interesting to return to something when you are not the same person that you were when said thing happened, and you have different feelings and insights, and, you know, maybe you feel more strongly about something, or maybe you feel less strongly. Maybe I'll listen to it and I won't feel anything. Maybe I'll just shrug. Who knows? But definitely need to listen to it to find out. So I'm going to do that. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Make sure to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe.